The Tirpitz, a behemoth of steel and firepower. The pride of Hitler's Kriegsmarine. It was the most feared battleship of World War II, a vessel so formidable that Winston Churchill himself called it the Beast. Its mere presence in the Arctic waters sent shockwaves through the Allied command. And for 2 years, it seemed truly unsinkable. This is the incredible story of how the Allies tried, and failed 33 times to destroy this monstrous warship, and how, in 1944, a daring mission by the legendary Dambusters finally sent it to the ocean floor. The threat of the Tirpitz. In early 1942, the war was raging on multiple fronts. The Soviet Union, locked in a brutal struggle against Nazi Germany, desperately needed supplies. To keep their war effort alive, the Western Allies sent vital aid through Arctic convoys, a dangerous voyage through treacherous, ice-filled waters, constantly harassed by German U-boats and Luftwaffe bombers. But the greatest threat to these convoys was not underwater or in the skies. It was the Tirpitz. At 42,900 tons, the Tirpitz was the largest battleship ever built by Germany. Armed with 8 15-inch guns, thick armor plating, and an imposing presence, it lurked in the fjords of Norway, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Even when it wasn't actively engaging enemy ships, its existence was enough to disrupt Allied operations. When intelligence reports suggested the Tirpitz might move, the British Admiralty ordered an entire convoy of 35 merchant ships to scatter. The decision proved disastrous. German bombers and U-boats swooped in, sinking 24 ships. Only 11 made it to Russia. This psychological warfare convinced Churchill that the Tirpitz had to be destroyed, at any cost. The failed attempts. Between 1942 and 1944, the British launched multiple operations to neutralize the Tirpitz. Submarines were sent, including midget subs known as X-craft, which placed explosive charges beneath its hull. The damage was severe, but not fatal. Bomber squadrons attacked, dropping payloads of high-explosive bombs. The ship suffered damage but always managed to return to fighting shape. Commandos infiltrated Norwegian fjords, attempting sabotage missions. Each time, the Tirpitz survived. Despite these relentless efforts, the battleship remained a looming menace. Its reputation as unsinkable only grew. By late 1944, the Royal Air Force, RAF, had one last chance. If this operation failed, the Tirpitz could return to full operational strength, threatening Arctic convoys once again. This final mission would be entrusted to the elite 617 Squadron, better known as the Dambusters. The final mission, Operation Catechism. On the morning of November 12, 1944, as the cold Arctic air hung over the Norwegian fjords, a fleet of Lancaster bombers took off from RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland. Their mission was clear: sink the Tirpitz, once and for all. The bombers were stripped of excess weight, armor, turrets, and even defensive guns, so they could carry the most devastating weapon in their arsenal, the Tallboy bomb. Designed by the legendary engineer Barnes Wallis, the Tallboy was a 12,000-pound behemoth, capable of penetrating reinforced structures before detonating. If anything could sink the Tirpitz, it was this. As the bombers approached their target, German radar detected them. Anti-aircraft guns opened fire, filling the sky with deadly shrapnel. But the Dambusters were trained for this. Flying in precise formations at 16,000 feet, they adjusted their sights and released their payloads. The Tallboys fell with terrifying speed, piercing through the ship's thick deck like daggers through cloth. One bomb struck midship, detonating in a massive explosion that sent shockwaves through the steel hull. Another landed near a gun turret, blasting it into the air. The force of the blasts was so powerful that the entire battleship shifted. Within 90 seconds, the Tirpitz began to capsize. Trapped sailors scrambled for escape, but as the ship rolled over, nearly 1,000 crew members perished, their cries swallowed by the freezing waters. The beast of the Kriegsmarine was finally dead. The destruction of the Tirpitz was a turning point. With its sinking, the Royal Navy no longer had to divert resources to the Arctic. The Soviet convoys could now sail with greater safety. But the mission was also a grim reminder of the cost of war. More than 970 German sailors perished that day. Survivors later recounted how, as the ship sank, trapped crew members sang Deutschland über alles, their voices fading beneath the waves. And yet, an enduring mystery remains. Why didn't the German Air Force respond in time to protect the Tirpitz? Years later, documents surfaced suggesting that a German radar officer, Kurt Wessner, may have deliberately delayed sending alerts to the Luftwaffe. He was allegedly part of an underground resistance group working against the Nazi regime. If true, his actions contributed to one of the greatest Allied victories at sea. After the war, former enemies found unexpected reconciliation. RAF pilot Tony Iveson, who flew on the mission, later met former Luftwaffe pilot Kurt Schultz. They spoke not as enemies, but as men who had lived through the same horrors, each understanding the tragedy of war. The sinking of the Tirpitz is not just a story of destruction, but a testament to courage, strategy, and the unintended human connections forged in the fires of war. The story of the Tirpitz is one of daring, resilience, and the consequences of unchecked military ambition. It's a lesson in the power of strategy, the price of war, and the importance of historical memory. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into history's most incredible events. Like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and let's discuss. Could the Tirpitz have changed the war's outcome if it had survived? What are your thoughts on the actions of Kurt Wessner? Was he a hero or a traitor? Your engagement helps keep these forgotten stories alive. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more riveting tales from history.